doing this right. Let me make sure I got the microphone. Usually when it's in the picture, that means the sound is going to work. Good morning, everybody. This is Bomani Arma. It is 6:18. Is that the right time? 6:18 on January 20th, first day of Aquarius season, first day of the Trump administration, last day of the Barack Obama administration. It is also a Friday. I'm an independent business owner, so like weekends don't really mean that much to me, but I do recognize that weekends are important, and I get to see all my friends over the weekend because now we have time to talk and catch up. And so I definitely appreciate that. Um, just wanted to catch up with you guys. If you notice, I don't have my normal coffee cup. I've already had 3 cups of coffee this morning, at least 2.5. So this is going to be a very interesting day. This might be a very interesting check-in. I'm very wired. I'm very excited. I've been talking and writing and building, and my resolution for the new year has just to been get better at what I'm doing. I make different resolutions every year. This year, my resolution wasn't to do anything new. It was to go back and look at all the projects and the things and the goals that I have set for myself that I haven't completed. And I'm trying to just get those done correctly this year. And I would appreciate my friends and my family for their support. And you guys definitely have. All the podcasts and blogs and writings you're going to see me do over the next couple of days and weeks are not new ideas. They are old ideas. They just have not been, executed. One of my goals also is to be a little bit more transparent, because I realize one of the reasons that I think what I write and what I say relates to people well is that I'm not having any original experiences. I'm going through the same thing everyone else is going through. I'm having the same struggles. My talent and my skill is being able to articulate what they are. And as a lot of people have that skill, but that's one of my unique skills. But my experiences aren't like, oh my God, you're the only one going. What's up, Samari? How are you doing? You got me really motivated doing that interview a couple months ago. We got to do that again. You got me, and oh, as a matter of fact, Samari, you got to be a part of our panel on Davos, whatever the heck her name is. I'm gonna call her the Blackwater Princess because her company her family owns Blackwater. And I think we shouldn't forget that part. So yeah, Samari, you got to be a part of that conversation. Maybe you could host it or something. We'll work it out. Anyway, and so I've recognized my talent, my contribution to my community a while ago, and I'm just trying to get better at making them happen. I am keenly aware that I would not be able to live a normal life without having mental issues. And I mean that very, very seriously. And I admire people who are able to do it. I've seen people in my family do it, and I've seen people in my family have mental issues. And part of the reason that I feel like I have my right state of mind is that I'm following my path. And I've been following this entrepreneurial path and this whatever I'm doing right now. Like, a lot of people have the misconception that the most important, the trait that goes across all successful entrepreneurs and revolutionaries in some form or fashion, revolutionary thinkers, is their get up and go, is their own self-starting, is their own motivation and their own moxie. And though a lot of people have that, and a lot of people have that as their main motivation, and there are a few of them that's really the thing that drove them, what scientists have discovered, what social scientists have discovered, and what it's my lived experience, is that the main factor in success for entrepreneurial people is having a loving family and a community willing to back you up as you try and fail and try and fail and try and fail until you succeed. That is the main element that makes somebody an entrepreneur. There's a whole bunch of people who are in Silicon Valley right now talking about how they made it on their own. Shoot, there's a whole bunch of people in PG County right now talking about they made it on their own. They made it on their own, not understanding the community that was part of making them do what they do, and not understanding that they felt the freedom of not having to worry about what would happen if they fall, because someone had established something behind them that they could fall back on. It's why they say Black people have a problem creating wealth, because we have to do hand to mouth, and other people have the freedom of being like, I've got a legacy of money. I can try something and fail. And I don't have a legacy of money, but I do have like my DC family. I have the Hancock family and the Jones family and the PG County family and my DC family and my Kettering Largo family, my Turk family, my Iota Phi Theta family, my Blackout family, my spoken word family, the hip hop family, my educated family, my Pan African Garveyite family. Like I have a lot of people that like, and I think most people who are attempting to be entrepreneurs and revolutionaries and go different directions um have that support system, and that is the main factor. That's It's not your get up and go. Like there are a lot of people who have get up and go, and they have to get up and go to McDonald's and take care of their orphaned family. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a whole bunch of circumstances that could prevent you from having the dreams, and I have been blessed to be in a very good circumstance. And that theme has been coming up over and over and over again. It's one of the reasons I posted below. I posted my song Libation. It's a major theme of mine going into this year, probably the rest of my life, and that is just recognizing how generations before you have set you up and how it's your job to set up generations after you. It's been a major theme that keeps coming up every time I do the Baba Bomani show, especially some of the episodes that just came out and some of the conversations that are coming up. One of my favorite things was talking to Tim Jones about how hard it was and how different it was for him to try to explain in 1994 how hip hop could be an educational and entrepreneurial tool, and then how much easier it is for words, beats, and life, even though easy is relative. You know what I'm saying? I know Mozzie and them work really, really, really hard. If you listen to that interview, they've worked really, really hard, but you know, it's a different generation when they try to do it. He also talks a lot in his interview about how he set up the program that he wished was there for him when he was in middle school. And I know a lot of people doing that. Everyone is thinking this generational thing, like, I got to set something up that solves this problem in the future, and I love that. And then having the conversations with both Pat and Ariana, they were really, really went out of their way and gushed and gave a whole bunch of adulation to all the teachers and professors they have, because both of these women, and if you're not familiar with it, I'm getting you into the weeds of like the art education scene, are really, really elbows, knees, eyeballs deep in it. And it's really, really becoming a revolutionary educational movement, I believe, in Maryland. And um and the first thing that they did was shout out the professors that set them up when no one knew what this was and said, this is the direction we have to go. And I've loved having those conversations because it shows the generational connect. And then the other thing that, you know, in those conversations that I had was talking to Chris Styles, and for Chris Styles to say, and he said this before to me, and I see it happening in action. Like Chris Styles is my brother. I would have called him my little brother 10 years ago, but that's just my brother. He's a grown ass man handling his business. And him telling me, watching me, you know, from what I either told him or showed him, how much easier it is in the game for him to be an independent, conscious artist, is really uplifting for me, letting me know that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm heading in the right direction. And so I'm trying to remind myself that I am not in the pop music paradigm. I am not in the pop news paradigm. I'm in the griot paradigm. I'm in the generational transfer paradigm. My artistic, historical, and teaching skills predate records, predate publishing rights, and will outlive all that stuff. And that's the paradigm I'm a part of, and it's a very much a generational thing, and it's a theme that I'm gonna keep going with. So I just wanted to give those shots out, and I'm gonna try to make this next point very, very quick, because I can rant and ramble, and I might end up saying stuff I don't really mean, and I need to think through a little bit more. But I wanted to go through, as I said in the title, the 5 clues that you are living under an occupation, or that you're living in occupied territory, that you're living under a oppressive regime that is occupying you, okay? And the reason I'm saying this is I feel like my generation, I was born in 1978. I feel like my generation might have been the first generation of black people that weren't told that we were in the middle of a fight. Um, I think we should have been told that. I don't blame my parents, and I say my parents, I mean that previous generation. I don't, and also I also know I have a whole bunch of very conscious, very Pan-African families and people who watch this. So I might not be talking about your particular family, but I think you're gonna feel me on this point, and that is, as a culture, as a group of people, we have not been told that we are in a fight. We have been told that all we have to do now is we were told that all we have to do is get a good job, consistently vote Democrat, and keep our nose clean, and we should be good. All right. But we have been in a fight this entire time. And we do ourselves a disservice of not acknowledging that we are in a fight. And I will take this metaphorically, even going back to the actual wars we are in as a country. When we were attacked on 9/11, we were told, unlike in World War II, unlike in Vietnam, even though we weren't attacked, we were told that we are in a war that might last forever and will expand across the entire globe. And our biggest contribution that we can have to this war is to go shopping, is to make sure we keep the economy thriving. We weren't asked to join the military. We weren't asked to learn any special skills. We weren't asked to get to know our neighbors, get to know our enemies. We were just told, make sure you keep shopping. Representative Rangel, in a brilliant move, and I thought it should have happened. He said we should redo the draft. We should have a new draft back in 2001, 2002, and it was a brilliant idea for the reason being that people were not going to pay attention to the war if they didn't feel like they had to fight in it, and the war was going to get crooked and crazy and out of hand. But if you have a draft, people will pay attention because their children might have to be involved in it. We are now in the middle of bombing 7 countries. We're still actively on the ground in a couple of different countries. We are at war with less than 1% of our population taking an active role in it. If you look at our military roles, less than 1% of the citizens of the United States of America are taking part in it. All right. And so as a culture, we have stopped telling each other when we're in an actual battle, to the point that I don't think people recognize that when we're in a battle. And so I'm going to take that metaphor and put it on top of black people now. Now, I love this new theme that's happening because of Donald Trump, and that is, this is not normal. Everyone keeps saying this is not normal. Having a Klansman endorse you is not normal. Making fun of handicapped people on stage is not normal. All these things are not normal, and that's very, 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 very true. That slogan should have been a slogan for black people since day one, and we should never have settled for normal. There's a whole bunch of things we have settled for as normal, and they aren't. They are actually clues that you are living in an occupied state, all right? It doesn't feel like Palestine right now. It doesn't feel like an Indian reservation 150 years ago, because it keeps getting tweaked and keeps getting tweaked. But there are some obvious clues that we are in an occupied state, all right? Number one, if you have seriously, this is the clue, all right? If you have seriously considered what you will name yourself or your children to help them get along in society, you live in an occupied state. All right. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to change your name. I just want you to recognize where you are. All right. I understand the politics. I understand the social implications. I am not telling you to make a decision. But if it has crossed your mind that, I shouldn't represent myself culturally this way because it's going to make my life harder, then recognize you are in the middle of a war. All right, recognize that. All right, you are being occupied if you cannot name yourself what you want to name yourself. All right, now you don't have to change your name, but when I say we are in the middle of being occupied, don't disagree with me. All right, have you ever heard of this? I know I got some Bible people in my circle. All right, have you ever heard of Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah? Have you ever heard those 3 names? All right. You might have if you were paying close attention in Bible study. I wasn't really paying that close attention. When I went back and read it on my own, I realized that those were the original names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. All right. But the very first thing, when the kingdom of Judah was taken over, is that they changed their names from Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I don't have to tell you about the story of roots. I don't have to tell you about how many times you see people who are foreigners who are not black people, but they have names, and you look at them like, that ain't your name. You know what I'm saying? But if that is the thought that's going through your head, that I cannot represent my culture or else I will have a hard time, then you are being occupied, just so you know that, all right? Number 2, if you are in fear of, or you have created strategies for being detained by the state for no reason, then you are living in an occupied state. If you have gone over strategies of how to deal with the police, if you are a rich businessman who, when you get on a flight and go out of the state and you rent a car, you intentionally rent a car less expensive than what you can afford because you don't want to be harassed by police officers. You live in an occupied state. All right. This is not normal. The fact that you've learned how to deal with oppression does not mean you are not being oppressed. All right. You live in an occupied state if you have created active strategies of where to put your hands when your employees, the police are your employees, when your employees approach you, you've come up with a strategy of where to put your hands, what kind of music to put on, what kind of vocal tone. If you have thought that through and are being very careful about that, you live in an occupied condition. All right. It's just that's just the simplicity of the situation. All right. If you feel the need to adorn yourself in a way that hides or diminishes your ethnic and cultural heritage, you live in an occupied state. All right. I am not going to tell you to not change the way you look, to not change your hair, to not change your dress, to not, physically change whatever you want to your own body. Do whatever the heck you feel like you need to do to survive, but do not tell me that that is normal. Do not tell me that you're living in freedom if you have actively thought, how can I look less the way I normally look to get along in this society well? All right. Number 4, if you are told to accept mistreatment doled out to you because it could get worse, because it has been worse. All right, I'm gonna take a moment on this. I've been trying to keep these short, but I'm gonna take a moment on this. All right. I've heard people say this over and over and over again, from black people, white people. Dabo Sweeney said it during that whole Black Lives Matter, taking a knee during the national anthem thing, and he seems to be a good guy, but like it really struck me when he said it because I realized how fervent this idea is. Like, when I tell you racism is happening, when I tell you I've been assaulted and attacked because of my race, do not respond to me and tell me you should be okay with that because it used to be worse. That is not normal. That is not normal. Saying, oh man, nah, it's not that bad. Back in the day, people used to get hung from trees and people used to blah, 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 blah. It's so much better now. Like, that's not normal. It really isn't. Like, let me tell you working backwards from being treated better than what this country started with is not the standard we should have. This country started, and the way this country started, and I repeat this very often because I don't think people have a very clear, concise idea of the state of blackness when the Constitution was signed. All right, when this country started, George Washington had the ability to own a woman, to rape the woman, to make the woman carry the baby to term, to give birth to the child, sell the child for a profit. All right, that is where we began from, and settling for better than that is not a standard. Settling for better than 1970 is not a standard. If you still are worried about how you're going to name yourself, worried about how you're going to appear, and worried about yeah, like, it's not normal. All right, number 5, and there might be more than 5. If you are told to not resist, but instead make yourself more valuable, all right, and I'm specifically going to say this to the Jim Browns and the Ray Rices, and posthumously to the James Browns of the world, people that I admire for other reasons, people who I believe what they believe sincerely, and I don't know if they're agents. I don't think they are. Malcolm X had this thing about he could deal with people as long as he believed they were sincere. But we are getting told a message. We were told it by James Brown. We were told it by Jim Brown because they would hear the president say these things that make sense in a non-occupied state, and they would repeat them back to us like it makes sense. And that is, our job is to make ourselves, the reason we are being oppressed, the way to get out of our oppression is to make ourselves more valuable to our oppressors so that they will help us, so that they will give us opportunities. Now, our job is to make ourselves more valuable to society. Our job is to make ourselves valuable to our community and the people around us. But this country owes us, if we get our shit together or not, food, clothing, shelter. The basis of the Industrial Revolution is off of the back of our slave ancestors. All right, the money that's in Goldman Sachs is actually ours. All right, I'm not expecting it. I'm not actually going to spend any time asking for it. But what I am not going to do is be told that my problem is I haven't made myself valuable enough to the occupying people. And I will tell you exactly why I'm saying this. Jim Brown, when asked about the fact that there are no African Americans in Trump's cabinet, made the point that the three greatest men in his life were white men, that the ones who helped him the most, the ones who helped move his career along the most. And I am not going to disparage them. I am not going to say anything bad about them, because there would be no end to slavery. There would be no civil rights movement without people who weren't black being a part of it, right? But Jim Brown was the athlete of his generation. He was the best athlete of all time in two different sports. All right. The fact that his school superintendent, the fact that his coach looked out for him and made sure he was good because he was valuable to them. And he doesn't understand that. James Brown didn't understand that he had a specific peculiar and great talent that taken advantage of by the people who needed what he had. And so it wasn't benevolence completely. It was, oh, you're valuable. And so now Ray Rice and Jim Brown are telling kids in Baltimore, like, yo, you need to stop talking race. Like Ray Rice literally is saying, not Ray Rice, what am I talking about? Ray Lewis. I apologize. Ray Lewis is literally telling kids, stop talking race. I don't want to hear nothing about white people. I don't want to hear nothing about racism. Your job is to make yourself valuable. And that's not going to work. Like that avenue of being valuable to this country is skewed intentionally. Even if you look at how Jim Brown and Ray Lewis made their money, I wonder. I'm gonna wonder this out loud, and maybe y'all can help me. And I'm gonna try to end this because this is way over the time that I've been trying to do this. I wonder out loud. We sometimes, as African Americans and as just social scientists in general, we talk about our proliferation in sports. You know what I'm saying? We do football, we do boxing, we do these sports, these physically grueling sports better than like other people, better than other ethnicities, better than other groups, as you can see visually very easily, right? And part of that is a physical thing. You know what I'm saying? There's some very real science, some very real history behind that, right? Part of it also, though, is that we have been taught and conditioned to endure more pain and more suffering and more chance and more risks to our bodies in order to show ourselves valuable than any other culture. Like that has been like people running headfirst into each other over and over and over and over and over again until they cannot function as an older person in boxing and in football. Like as much as it is your physical prowess, it is your willingness to accept punishment and grueling over the top brain damaging punishment in order to make yourself valuable to the system. And that is something that black people have been trained to do. I read a book last month about how the insane amounts of cotton we used to pick, how we went from picking 100 pounds to picking 180 pounds in just 2 generations with the invention of new whips and new torture techniques. Like we have never failed when they've set a bar to see how much pain and endurance you can take and how much disrespect you can take and how many rules of occupation you can live under and deal with. We've never failed any of those tests. All right. But we got to stop taking those tests. That's not where we should be. We have to stop saying our way out is making ourselves valuable to our oppressors. Our way out is making ourselves valuable to us and defending ourselves. So yeah, I don't need you to fight. I don't need anybody to openly be a part of any kind of revolutionary fight. You know what I'm saying? I don't even call myself a revolutionary. I think that's too harsh of a word. Revolutionaries have to like find their own water and grow their own food. And I'm just at the beginning stages of that, right? I don't need you to do any of these things on this list of things that help to show you that you're being oppressed. But I do want you to stop saying that you aren't. Stop saying this is normal. Stop saying that this is just everyday normal stuff, that you're supposed to be afraid of the cops, that you're supposed to be, I gotta go back to my notes to make sure I remember this. That you're supposed to be told by the people who rule over you that it could be worse, it used to be worse, that you're supposed to be careful of how you represent your culture and who you are. Like if you've ever had any of those thoughts, then recognize you're being oppressed, that you're being occupied. And so let's at least recognize that. You don't have to fight the way I fight. I see other people fighting in ways I don't agree with. People ask me all the time to defend Black Lives Matter. I have no problem with people in Black Lives Matter doing what they feel is necessary to get out of their situation. I don't agree with their strategies. I won't say anything bad about them in public because I believe they're sincere. You know what I'm saying? But but I'm not expected to fight like them. They're not expected to fight like me. Just make sure you're not telling me that there isn't a fight, that this is normal. So that's it. My longest rant to date. This is all part of stuff I've been writing down. I appreciate y'all indulging me. Please check out Libation. Give me some feedback on it, and y'all have your wonderful day.